With the release of OP17, the One Piece card game introduces 6 new monocolored leaders into battle. A lot of faces in this set are leaders that are getting upgrades from their predecessors, but some of the leaders are being released as brand new installments, setting up for the new Elbaf arc and new characters entering the manga. I have decided that I'm going to take the new Elbaf Luffy on a training arc of sorts, taking time to experiment with different builds of the deck, all leading up to local tournaments, store championships, and the ever important Flame Fruit event at Bandai Card Fest this year, in search of my one prized goal: obtain the OP10 Usopp, and more importantly, the OP15 Lucy leader. This is the Elbaf training arc. Hello everybody and welcome to the Elbaf training arc. My name is Seasonal TCG, where the channel might be seasonal, but the card games are not. I just wanted to come on here and start with the episode talking about the Luffy leader, talking about what we're going to be working with here, as well as to remind you to please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what leaders you're cooking up for OP17. Are you cooking up the new leaders? Are you cooking up old leaders? Just let me know. But let's just first talk really quickly about this leader, and then we'll get into what deck list I'm playing today. So this is the Luffy Elbaf leader. It's a 5-life 5k leader, and it just gives blocker to anything that is a cost of 12 or more. So we're going to be playing a lot of blockers in this deck just inherently because things gain cost. The reason why I wanted to build this deck is because there are so many ways that you can build this deck just with cost manipulation. Some of the cards in here can be used for removal, some of them can be used for tempo, and there's just so many ways to build it, and it's really versatile. And so I wanted to take a chance on a black deck because I really do like the color black in this card game, and I just wanted to, take a spin with it. So without further ado, let's kind of talk about what we're going to be playing today. Alright, so we talked about Luffy and how he's a black 5k leader with 5 life, right? But we haven't really talked about his effect and what he kind of has at his disposal. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. His effect, yes, these are all proxies, so I haven't gotten the set yet, but when I get the set, I promise I will have the actual cards. We're just kind of test right now, So the Luffy leader says that any character with a cost of 12 or more gains blocker. So the idea is you're going to play a lot of the Elbaf Giants from the arc and then play the Straw Hats underneath to support it, right? And it is a really cool deck and is super duper unique because we have some really cool cards to use as core, right? There are 16 cards that I am considering core. Now, what I consider core are the cards that will be in every single build of Elbaf Luffy, or almost every single build, especially as a 4 of, right? And those 16 cards are Usopp, Zoro, Gerd, and Loki. So we'll take some time to talk about each one of these individually. Sometimes they're in Japanese. I'll explain the text for all of them no matter what, so don't worry if you don't know what they do. But Usopp, right here, you can see his power, 2 cost 2k. All the Straw Hats have an effect when there is a character with a cost of 12 or more on the board, so a giant. Usopp, like a lot of the Straw Hats, will gain plus 3k power. All the 2-cost Straw Hats will gain plus 3k power if they are printed in the set. On play, he is just a searcher. Look at the top 3 and then find an Elbaf card, add it to hand, trash the rest. He is always going to be really good just because he's a good generic searcher, and he's a swinger once you get a giant on the board. And then we have Zoro. Zoro is removal protection and a 2k, so he's 2 and 1 there, and he also gains plus 3k power if there's a 12 cost on the board. But his removal protection is permanent, so he will put 3 cards from the trash at the bottom of your deck if you want to save any card. He's just a really good generic 2k, and I think he's going to be probably one of the better cards in this deck. Speaking of really good cards, now we talk about the Giants. We have Gerd here. Gerd is a 2-cost, 2k counter, 3k power character that gains plus 12 cost, and that's a permanent effect. So this Gerd on the field is going to be a 14 cost 3k, and as you remember from our leader effect, we are going to be getting a blocker effect on this character. Then on play, you discard 1 card from your hand and then add any character with a cost of 8 or less to your hand. So she's just going to be a really good blocker that you can use, kind of like a Rebecca in a way, just a in-engine Rebecca from OP05 to be able to recur anything from the trash that you may need to follow up, or anything that you may need to play on that turn. And one of those cards, if you're on Tendon, may be this Loki, which you probably have seen if you've seen the releases for it, but if you haven't, that's okay. This is a secret rare, 6 cost, 8k power character, and it gains plus 12 cost, and on your opponent's turn, gains plus 3k power. So it's going to be a 18 cost, 11k blocker on your opponent's turn. Absolutely insane. And this was kind of printed, I feel like, as an Enel counter because it KOs all characters with a total cost of 4. So for example, if I had a Zoro and an Usopp, or I had a different Straw Hat, like a different Straw Hat that's 2 costs and Usopp, I could play this Loki and blow up those 2 characters, right? Which is pretty nuts, and it's really cool. But with these 16 cards, in every build that I do, I'm going to try to have all of these cards ran at 4 copies, and I'm going to try to have all of it be in the deck as the core. This is what I consider to be the core of the deck. All right, now that we've talked about the core of the deck, talked about what the leader can do, we need to talk about the version I'm playing of this deck right now, because I find this deck to be extremely versatile, be able to play in many different ways. You can play with the Loki removal deck, you can play it as just a big aggro deck, you can play it as a tempo deck, but today we are going to be doing my first draft of the deck. This is what my first draft was when things were starting to come out, and it revolves around this Thousand Sunny stage from ST14. Now, I didn't grab this starter deck when it came out, unfortunately, so I never really got any of this cool stuff, and I'm kind of regretting it now. If you haven't gotten a chance, consider buying these now just in case. You know, you never know. They're like a less than $1 a copy, so you never know, you could maybe use this in the future. But on play, it draws 1 card, but all of your Straw Hats are going to be gaining plus 1 cost, which is really convenient because we are going to be using a lot of the stuff from previous sets in this video, including Pirate Docking 6, which is from Brook's set, an OP 15, right? This character gains plus 6 cost, so it's an 11 cost, which you may be like, why is that important? Well, with this stage on board, all of your Straw Hats gain plus 1 cost. So when you play this Pirate Docking 6, you actually gain a blocker with it, as well as being able to play a 2 cost from your trash. And we just so happen to have a lot of those 2 costs that just came out in this set, which is kind of cool. So you can have a 5k 2 cost on top of your 5 cost, or now 12 cost 7k blocker, which is kind of sick, right? So we're going to be using today a lot of the older stuff, which includes the 2 cost chopper. I have only 2 of it because in my initial testing, I just found it to be really good, but just not needing to be as many as 2. So we're going to test it out today and see how that goes. And then of course, if you're going to be playing the Brook stuff, you're going to need to play 2 of the Zombie Luffy and 1 of the Wedding Nami. I'm only playing 1, trying it out because I just don't like running too many bricks, and I'm thinking, like, since I trash a lot with black, I already have like 2 cards that trash a lot, I can be able to recur it really easily with this chopper and other cards like the Gerd, which I showed you, because the Gerd can get any 8 costs or less, so you can get this Wedding Nami. I'm just trying to see how it goes. And obviously, if you're playing a black Straw Hat leader, you have to play this. I played this in many black leaders. I played this in Usopp. I play this in I've played this in Brook when I play Brook just for fun. You know, it's just a really good card. You have to play this in every black deck. It's black Straw Hat deck. It's just very good. Let's talk about the new stuff, right? Let's talk about the new stuff. So we're going to talk about things individually as they go, but this is what we're playing today. Again, this is kind of more of a tempo build, but playing a lot of the old stuff. This is, again, a first draft for me, so I'm trying to figure out what is going to work, what's not going to work. But we have this cute little chopper here, and he's a 1 cost 2k power 2k counter, and he just gives any card unblockable if you have a character with a cost of 12 or more on board. Really cute card. Really love that. Then for our 2 costs, this is where all the Straw Hats come in. We got Sanji, we've got Robin, and we've got Frankie. We'll go over each of them individually here. Sanji is all these characters will gain plus 3k power if there's a 12 cost on board, so I'm not going to say that anymore. But he says draw 2, trash 2. It's just a really good way to filter out your hand. We do play a few breaks in this deck, so it's just a good early character to play that doesn't have to rely on the 12 cost being on board to do something, which a lot of these other Straw Hats do, like Robin. Robin on play gives minus 3k power to a character, which, as I've been playing a lot of Lucy lately, it's just been really powerful to reduce something in its power and then be able to swing into it as a way to remove it and get cards out of hand instead of having to, you know, forcefully remove it and remove it by effects, which a lot of removal protection, as I've been talking about, is appearing rampantly throughout the One Piece card game. And then I have Franky. I wasn't really sure whether to play Franky or Brook. We'll talk about both of them individually, but Franky just KOs a 2 cost or less, just some decent removal in case you're playing Goofy or you're playing like Mihawk's Little Bodies or something like that, or if you're playing in the mirror, it's really good. But there's also a Brook that I've been considering, which on play makes your opponent discard 1. But today I'm just testing out the Franky to see how it goes, kind of just see how this runs in my first draft, you know? Then, for the rest of the Elbaf cards, I have this Luffy. I have an 8 cost Luffy here. This is supposed to be the 1 cost 2k counter giant. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. I'll put it in the text right here once I get his name. But this is, I didn't get to print this out right away, so it's just Sanji, but it's the same power line, and it just says this character gains plus 12 cost. So it's just a 1 cost blocker from hand that you play, and it's a chump blocker, kind of nice. And then I have for my characters, to end my characters, I have 4 of the Jaguar D Salt, and then I have the new event that came out. I can't remember the name of it. I'll put the text of it right here, but I just got the event that just recently came out a couple days ago. But we'll talk about Saul first. Saul is a 4 cost 6k character that you play from hand, but he gains 12 cost, as all the giants do. So he's a 16 cost, holy cow, 6k character that can be a blocker. And then he's also a searcher, top 3 for an Elbaf card, trash the rest. He's really good on 4, and then he's kind of just mid the rest of the way, so I didn't include him in the core because of that, but I feel like he is really important because he just kind of helps your mid game. He's your really, if you're going on even curve or even Dawn curve, you play this out on 4 Dawn, it's your strongest 4 Dawn play. Then you have this card. I already told you the name of it, but this is essentially a Gravity Blade, except that you KO characters. You have to rest 1 Dawn, then you, for the cost, you have to rest 6 Dawn, and then you KO 2 characters with 6 cost or less. Pretty nuts. And then it's a plus 3k counter. I feel like this card is going to be really, really good in this build and be able to remove a lot of bodies. I feel like it's going to be really great against the Mihawks and the Shanks of the world, as well as just those mid-game bodies, being able to remove those and everything like that. Giving you the first little version of this deck. It's my first draft of it. I'm gonna go take it to locals, take it for a spin. I have some people who have already proxied some of the new leaders here, and we're gonna go get some testing in on these new leaders. So without further ado, let's go take this for a spin.
All right, guys. Now that we're here and we've shown the deck list and everything like that, we went to locals and we are doing a little feature match today with Link, who's on my right here. Thank you so much, Link, for helping me out with this video. If you're watching this, thank you. Shout outs to you. I also want to shout outs Link because he also helped me with a little bit of the overlay of this channel. He gave me a little bit of overlay stuff for it, and he also gave me a logo, which is really cool, and then he made that all just out of his own goodwill, and I just want to say thank you so much for that. Please give him some love in the comments, and remember, we're both testing, so we may not make the most optimal of plays, so just remember to be respectful in the comments for everything. We'd love to hear anything that we can do to get better, but just be respectful about it in the comments. That's all I ask for. Thank you. Alright, so now let's talk about Roxy Xebec here. We're going to pause because we're going a little fast here in the early turns, because we know kind of what we're doing in both of our decks. Roxy Xebec is a blue leader. I know it's gray, but, it's proxies, so, he's a blue leader, just released. He's a 5k, 5-life leader, and he pretty much only has bricks in his deck. And the effect that he has is when attacking, you discard 1 card, and then you reveal the top of your deck, and if it's a Rocks Pirate, you draw 2 cards. So it's really a value generation deck. You're just drawing a lot of cards, and it's really, really cool. And then you set up your board with a bunch of stuff that helps you in the late game, right? He played full lead on turn 1. He had the turn 1. He had to go first, so he played the full lead. Not the black full lead. This is a new full lead. It's a stage. And then what it does is when I attack, or on opponent's attack, you can rest the stage and discard 1 card, and it gives plus 1k. I believe it's to everything. Don't quote me on that, but I know for sure it's plus 1k. It's just a free 1k counter with anything you want, so that's pretty cool. And then Link passes over the turn to me, to which I play Usopp. and I look at the top 3, add an Elbaf card, trash the rest. We kind of talked about that in the core, and I decided to grab the Viking Luffy, the Elbaf Luffy, and add it to my hand. So now he knows that I have a Rusher in my hand, which is what we want. We want to be as aggressive as possible, you know, and just try to get my opponent down to 0 as fast as possible. That's what this deck likes, this version of the deck likes to do. Then the Rocks Pirate leader, Link, decides to play Streusen, which is a 1-cost 2k character. Most of the cards in this deck are bricks, so none of them have counter on the card. And what Streusen does, as he plays another one, is look at the top 2, either put the card at the top or the bottom, and then you draw 1 card. So you're not really netting neutral or minus or anything with this effect. And then he top decks a 3rd one, so he's going to look at the top 2 again, and then he's going to put it on top or bottom, and this time he elects to keep it on top, and then draw 1 card. So he wants these in his hand. Usually you're just trying to figure out what you want, file for what you want. And then he decides to swing 5 and use this leader ability, so we get to see it live here. He has to discard 1, which he does. He discards a Charlotte Linlin, and then reveals the top of the deck, which is a Shiki, a Rocks Pirate card, and then draws 2. I decided to discard a 1k Frankie because, you know, you want some 2 costs and trash to be able to play, but also just because I don't want to die to a bunch of the aggressiveness that Rocks is able to have in the late game. So I want to have some free life early and, you know, just be able to ensure that I don't die too late without having counter or without having a board presence. So then get to be able to play my turn. I play Salt, look at the top 3, and then grab a 2-cost Sanji. And since Salt is a giant, he gains plus 12 cost. I get to have my Usopp be a 5k, to which the One Piece card that Link discarded, he said that he couldn't find the last card, but it was just the 2k event that came out. I can't remember the name of it, but all I know is that it's event that you discard and gives plus 2k. It's a 0-cost event, and then it also, you can rest, I think, 5 Dawn and then bounce a 5 cost or less, but since a lot of the giants that I'm playing are way above 5 costs, it doesn't really help in this matchup, so it's good to just discard it. And then he uses Full Lead to counter with that Shiki that he discarded. I'll explain what some of these people do as we go on, so don't worry. Then I pass it off to Link, who plays the Captain John, and Captain John is really awesome. He is an activate main, you rest him, draw 1, trash 1, and you might say, well, that's not that good, and you would be right, but he has the OP01 Eustace Kid effect, where if he's rested, you cannot attack anything else other than him, except that you don't need a Dawn underneath him. He just is just an effect that he gets all the time. It's pretty nice. To which then he swings 6 at life, and then uses leader effect, discarding 1, and he discards the 10-cost Zebek, which is a 2k in his hand if your entire field is a bunch of bricks, no counter on them, and then draws 2 after revealing a Rocks Pirate, and then passes off the turn after I take. I don't want to, you know, go down to 0, or I don't want to have not that many cards in hand, or few cards in hand this early, so I decide to take, and then I play Robin, which is really great in this situation because it minuses 3k to a character on the board for the turn, which forces Link now, since I targeted Captain John, to discard 2 cards if he wants to save Captain John, which he does. He discards that event, that 0-cost event again for 2k, and then uses Full Lead to save it, and then I have to swing my leader Luffy to this Captain John to finally take the kill off. He does let it go, and then I play the stage, which is a really awesome part of this deck, and draw 1. Not really being super useful in this matchup, because there's nothing that Rocks has, if I remember right, that removes 2 costs or less. So he takes the 7k because, you know, he's already used Full Lead and doesn't want to discard more cards. And then I play Sanji, drawing into 2 bricks, the stage here, unfortunately. And then I draw Pirate Docking. Now, I thought about discarding Pirate Docking here, but I decided to keep it in hand because it is just super duper useful for the next turn. Since the stage is on board and it's a Straw Hat card, it gains plus 1 cost. So then with its plus 6 cost, as I've talked about, and then the 5 cost that it has on its card, plus the 1 cost from stage, it becomes a blocker. So I can be able to use my little weenie still as 5ks. It's kind of nice. And then I discard a Sanji instead, pass off the turn to the 7 Dawn turn on the Rock side now. We know he has a Shiki in hand, but he decides to play the Whitebeard instead, which is also a really good card. On play, draw 1. And then anytime that Rocks attacks, Rocks Dzebek leader attacks, you can discard 1 for Newgate's effect to give the Zebek leader plus 3k for the battle. So it's going to be an 8k leader for this battle once he swings here, and he's going to do that. Using the Whitebeard effect first to discard a Kaido, and then using the Rocks effect to discard a full lead, reveal the top, which is a Kyo, and then draw 2 cards. Essentially just becoming an 8k leader for free. Pretty nice. And he swings at the Sol, to which I discard a Chopper 2k and a Sanji because I kind of want to keep the Sol around for the later parts of the game. And I know that he's not going to be able to attack again this turn, so I was like, I might as well keep him around. And to which he passes, and I draw. And now I'm kind of trying to just understand and figure out what I want to do. I could play the Elbaf Luffy if I wanted to, or I could play the Pirate Docking, but first I'm going to poke, because now the rest of this game is just about me trying to whittle down the Rocks' hand and ensure he doesn't have a hand to defend himself, or a life to defend himself, whichever one, for the rest of the game, to which he takes, he counters the full lead for the Usopp attack, takes with Sanji, and then uses Whitebeard's effect to give +3 onto the Robin swing. And now I'm just kind of figuring out what I want to do. Do I want to play the Elbaf Luffy? Do I want to play this Pirate Docking and get another blocker on board? And I'm just kind of determining what I want to do. And I think I'm going to decide to play the Pirate Docking, which I do, which trashes 3, and I trash 2 2Ks, unfortunately, and a Robin. And then I go and play a 2 cost, which is pretty nice. I really like having this ability to just play any of the Straw Hats from trash and then have a blocker on board. It's kind of sick. And I'm kind of thinking about the Chopper here just to, you know, increase my trash size for setting up for the Zombie Luffy later on in the game. As well as I can grab any Straw Hat now, which is really nice. And luckily it's a bunch of bricks. I didn't really want those in my hand anyway. And so now I'm trying to decide what I want to do with the rest of my Dawn. And I decide to swing 7 at life because he's already used Newgate effect. And it forces him to go down to 2 life, or he has to give up 2 2Ks, which he doesn't want to do. So now I activate the Chopper ability to grab something, and I was like, oh, I'll just grab a 2K. And the 2-cost Chopper, unfortunately, and this is the unfortunate part about him, you can't grab himself, so I can't grab the Chopper 2K. And that Sanji 2K from OP15, you may say, well, you can grab that, but remember, as I talked about in the deck profile, that's Roto, the Elbaf 2K. So I can't grab him, unfortunately. So I had to just settle on a Robin in case he puts the Newgate sideways to give it -3k and be able to poke into that, because that card is a massive, massive threat. So then we pass off the turn. It's now 9 Dawn turn, and the Rocks player is going to play a 2-cost Kyo. Now, 2-cost Kyo is a removal protection for Rocks, and is really, really nice because of that removal protection. I do have the ability to remove his board pretty well, but you have to discard 2 for it. So it is kind of a hefty cost, but it is kind of worth it. Then he plays the Gloriosa to be able to bottom deck a 5 cost or less, and is a blocker, and so he bottom decks the Usopp. And then he has 3 Dawn left over, and he's trying to decide what he wants to do next. He's just trying to figure it out. He's thinking about swinging with his leader here, and he does, and then he elects to use the Rocks effect here to discard another 10 cost, reveal the top of the deck. It's another Kyo, so he's going to draw 2 more cards, but he does not choose to use the Newgate effect, I'm guessing just to keep a hand size, and I take because I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to put my blocker sideways. I'm okay with having a card in hand. I want to keep my tempo up, and I'm pretty healthy, so I don't really mind taking a life here. Then he plays the Stussy, which this card is really, really good. It stuns a base 5 cost or less, so it doesn't really matter that I get plus cost on my Sol and my Pirate Docking because I can't attack with them. It's a base 5 cost. Stussy also can rest 3 Dawn and herself to stun anything else. It doesn't matter what it is, it's anything else. It is really, really insane, and it's extremely annoying. So, since he unfortunately does not have that 3 Dawn to spare, he can only stun the Pirate Docking, and then passes off the turn, not swinging with the Newgate, keeping it up to make sure that he has counter. To which I then go to my 10 Dawn turn, and decide that, again, I'm going to poke. I just want to make sure I poke and get as many cards out of the hand as possible. He decides to use the full lead stage to discard Kyo, and then he uses his unblockable 2K event to counter out of my leader swing, to which then I'm going to play the Elbaf Luffy, and since there is a character with cost of 12 or more on the board, he gains Rush. His on-play then also says draw 1 card and play a 2 cost or less. Now, I could play any of the 2 costs in my trash. I could play Gerd, I can play Sanji, I can play Chopper, I can really play anything, which is what is really cool about this Elbaf Luffy. But I kind of have a few bricks in hand, like as you see the Loki, and then I'm just going to decide to draw 2 trash 2, and I'm going to get rid of a Saul because I really don't need it anymore, and a Loki because I don't need 2 in my hand. It's good to have 1, but you don't need 2. And now with 2 Dawn left over, I can, you know, swing with the Luffy, keep counter up for a counter event if I have it, maybe even play a Searcher if I really want to. So I'm just kind of thinking about my best play here and what I want to do. Again, we just want to keep whittling down the hand size, but then I swing 5 with the Sanji. Just kind of brain farting because I was like, oh, I'm going to swing with the Luffy, but I accidentally swung with the Sanji. Oops. So I swing 8 at leader and he takes instead of countering with the Newgate, and because, you know, or blocking, just to be able to have that safety measure. It's pretty nice. He does only have 3 cards in hand, so he wants to keep his hand size decently up, and I'm going to decide to punish him for not having a hand size by making him either discard 2 to save Kyo or let it go, and he does let it go. And then I just proceed to pass. I also do that because I would want him to swing into my Robin, you know, just to continue to keep up my pressure or like keep up my defenses and keep my life healthy, but I kind of want to just get ready for the lethal swing on the next turn, in case I do have it. So now the Rocks player is going to draw for a turn, now on 10 Dawn, and he decides to play the 10 cost here. So the 10 cost is a 2k in your hand if your entire board has no counter on it. It's pretty nice. He also draws 1, and then he can play 2 characters that are Rocks Pirates with different names with a total cost of 9 or less. It's pretty nice. He decides to only play Shiki, and Shiki is a 7 cost 9k character with character rush, and it's when attacking or on opponent's attack, he can discard 1 card and then give minus 3k to a character for the turn. It's a really good control card in this deck. He decides to then swing 8 at life by using Newgate ability, and then using the Rocks ability, he discards 1 to reveal the top of his deck, draw 2, and I decide to take because I know I'm going to eventually have to take. It's good to have the knowledge of what I'm getting in my hand now rather than later, and I'm still pretty healthy and I'm not worried about his lethal swings yet. He does swing 8 now with his Newgate. He wants to really put on the pressure, and since I have 2 blockers on board, I can use them, I can abuse them here, and I decide to by resting the Pirate Docking and giving a 2k because I'm only having to discard 1 card here, which is pretty nice. Now I only know he has about a couple more swings left, and he's going to swing 9, and he's going to discard 1, and he's going to target the Pirate Docking, which is who he is swinging into here. And so I'm kind of thinking about getting rid of him, but also he's going to be a 7k swing on the next turn in case I do have the lethal attempt, so I decided to give him Saul instead as a blocker. He just keeps the Stussy up passes, and he can't use the resting 3 and resting Stussy effect because remember he needs to have 3 active Dawn to rest, so he just passes off the turn to be able to have that card for next turn to go for lethal. And then my turn begins, and I'm looking at trying to set up lethal, but obviously we're trying to poke first. We want to poke. He gets rid of his 3rd, I believe, unblockable event of the game as a 2k counter with my Frankie swing, and then I decide to swing with Sanji as well, or at least I'm thinking about it. But I think I'm going to do it because, again, we're just trying to whittle down his hand and just keep poking him down to set up for a lethal. But I know he has a blocker. He has 2 ways to reduce my characters. I'm deciding and trying to figure out right now what my next plan of action is also. Because I kind of have this conundrum where I have Loki, Wedding Nami, and another Elbaf Luffy in my hand. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, I could maybe push for lethal, but my issue is, as I swing 5k here, he has Newgate and Shiki on board, which gives minus 3k. And now that's the 3rd event of unblockable events. Sorry, I thought that he had I thought he had 3 in trash. He only had 2 then. Then I decide to swing 8. He takes. And now I'm kind of sitting here and I'm like, okay, maybe I could go for lethal here. I could potentially go for it. Or I could play the Wedding Nami into the Zombie Luffy, which is in my trash, and then be able to have a 7k leader and then be defensive. Or I could play the Loki, blow up the blocker, and then poke cards out of hand. I wasn't really sure what the best option was. And it was kind of a little bit difficult to kind of see what plan was best. I think that the best play was probably to establish another blocker either with the Wedding Nami or the Loki, just so because I know for sure I'm guaranteed to not die on the next turn. I'm very certain of that. And I know that I can win on the following turn because he has a very low hand size, right? So I think that the best play here is to just establish a blocker. Now the question is which one? And I decide that the Loki is probably my best bet, so then I can ensure that the Gloriosa dies, so then next turn, unless he plays another Gloriosa, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. I also have a Gerd in my hand, so I can play that and grab the unblockable Chopper in case he, does play another Gloriosa, because Gerd, if you remember, discards one on play and then grabs a character with a cost of 8 or less from the trash, and is also a blocker in this deck, which is what I decide to do after swinging 6, and then he has to counter. And I play the Gerd, I discard the Elbaf Luffy because I don't think I need it anymore, and I grab the unblockable Chopper just to be able to have that extra assurance of, okay, I know I have game next turn, right? Because he only has one card in hand, and I probably could have maybe went for lethal, but I felt like it was just better to, be defensive. I know 100% I can win on the next turn. I have 3 blockers, and I only have, and I have 2 life. I think I'm going to be very safe. He has 5 swings here. He has to have all of them connect. And hope he has the unblockable event as well. So I'm pretty safe here. And now it's just, can I survive the lethal turn, right? The Rocks player is just kind of talking with me, and we're both kind of just trying to figure out what is the best lethal math here, because he can discard 1 with Newgate to make his Rocks an 8k, so he can have for sure 8 with your leader, 8 with the Newgate to start, 9 with the Shiki, and 12 with the Rocks character. Now it's just trying to figure out how to math out your Don and attach your Don and try to, go for this lethal. Yeah, this is a really tough situation for the Rocks player. He's in a really tough situation. He decides to put 1 Don on his Rocks leader and then swing at life, trying to go for game, and uses the Newgate ability first to discard 1 to make his leader plus 3k, so now it's a 9k swing at life, and then he decides to use the Rocks effect and reveal, to which he gets the last unblockable event out of there. And if you don't know what that is, or I've been talking about it as the unblockable event, but I haven't really described it very well, it is an event that you rest 1. It's a 0-cost event, rest 1, and then up to 1 of your Rocks Zebek cards gains unblockable. So he can only use unblockable on his 10 cost now. That's the only thing that can get unblockable, so I know I'm very safe to take this life, and then I can just block out with the rest of my blockers and ensure that I'm going to be able to win on the crackback, right? So he's kind of just determining with me and thinking about what the best play is, but he decides to look at his Don and look at his math here and just kind of see. While he's thinking about his lethal math, I just want to say thank you again and to Link here, and I just want to shout him out. Please shout him out in the comments. Thank you for playing here. He does decide to play the unblockable event here, and that because he's like, oh, we both know you have it. Might as well just get it out of the way now. And then puts, I believe that's 4 Don, or is it 3 Don? It's 3 Don onto Stussy to swing 8. I decide to block with Loki because it's free block. Then he decides to swing 11 with Shiki at leader, to which I use my Gerd because it's a free chump block. Then he decides to swing another 11 at leader, to which I decide to block with my Pirate Docking. And then he swings 12k unblockable at leader, to which I do take because there are no more attacks coming at me. And then he and I decide to scoop it up.
So we had a couple of games here. We played a game against Rocks, and you guys saw that. And then we also played against Shanks, which the video is up on the channel right now if you guys want to check it out. And I kind of wanted to give you guys some talking points as to what I felt like were some of the pros in this deck, some things that I think I don't personally like, and we will kind of veer away with once we get to our final build. But overall, the first build kind of played really well. I, first of all, want to give a huge shout out to this Pirate Docking. Like, holy cow, this is such a great card to play. Especially with that stage, you can play this and then have your abilities on live with this Pirate Docking. I think Pirate Docking is going to be in my build no matter what kind of build I decide to do, but Pirate Docking for sure is going to be involved in whatever build I do, because he was just so strong. The tempo plays that you could make with him were just so good. And then the rest of the cards that I really thought shine were all the new cards. I really like this Elbaf Luffy. I liked the Saul. Only on 4 though. It kind of did okay. Like if a deck wasn't playing a thing that I needed to answer right away, if I could just play a second Saul, it was kind of nice. But otherwise, like, it was pretty strong. I also really liked this Roto. I know it says Sanji, remember it's still Roto. I personally really love the Roto, just being able to, if I have to go first, just play this on 1 and then be able to play a 2 cost somewhere was really awesome. And then I also really loved this Robin. This Robin was so good. Being able to answer those Captain Johns, being able to answer just anything on the board was kind of nice, and I really enjoyed that. Now, we talked about pros. There are also cons and things like that, and the first one I wouldn't necessarily call a con, but I am going to have to give some highlight to the Zombie Luffy here and kind of talk about it. As you kind of noticed in my games, he really wasn't played at all. It was kind of shocking. Like, it felt like you really didn't need the Zombie Luffy, which I found to be very interesting and really cool to just be like, okay, I don't need this right now. I can just play something else and discard this into my trash for the setup for Nami later. Like, this kind of just feels like a card you could just discard as a 1K, and I kind of don't mind that. I just was kind of disappointed as to like how little I was actually utilizing him. I guess it also just depends on what I need, but it just felt slow to play him. I also kind of didn't really like this Frankie. It did do something against the rocks and KO Kyo, but it didn't feel really good. I bet it's definitely really good in the mirror, but why would you play this when you can just play the Loki and then kill 2 of them on 6 Dawn? That just feels like a way better tempo play than playing this Frankie out. So I just don't think this Frankie's going to make my final build personally. And then a shocking one, but I don't like this Chopper in the deck. I felt like anytime I played it, I was on 2, I was just like, oh, I'd rather this be an Usopp, or I'd rather this be a Sanji, or something that can be 5k on the next turn. This, no matter what, is going to be a 2k, so you can't really get the swing off of it like you can with the Sanji or the Usopp, unfortunately. It's decent to play off of Pirate Docking, so maybe I keep it in as a 1-of, but honestly, I don't think I even need to include it, to be honest with you. And then lastly, I have my final thoughts on the stage build. I think the stage build is good. I think the stage build has some decent like plays with it, and I really like the ability to make Pirate Docking a blocker by playing this stage out, but it only is good on the 1 Dawn turn, or when you're trying to like find a turn to play it. If you have the perfect turn to play it with Pirate Docking, like, it feels okay, but otherwise it just kind of didn't show up much, and I didn't feel like it was really good against Shanks or Rocks specifically. I feel like it's going to be a lot better against some other decks. Like, for example, in the mirror match, this card is going to be absolutely mandatory and massive. But otherwise, I kind of felt like it didn't really perform well. So I don't know if this build is going to be the build that I end up with at the end of the day. If we get to a lot of Elbaf Luffy's around, then yeah, that's probably going to be the build. But otherwise, I think I'm going to go with a different direction. Now, next week, the different direction is going to be involving stuff like this guy. This is Brook. And Brook, when there's a 12 cost on the board on play, makes your opponent discard from your hand. And we already have a lot of Straw Hat cards that have hand hate to them. And I'm sick of all these decks having high hand totals, man. So we're going to be taking care of that in the next episode. Alright, guys. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Remember to leave a like. Remember to comment. Remember to subscribe. And I will be seeing you guys in the next episode where we talk about hating hands. See you guys in the next one.